From verse 63 to the end. Krodhat bhavati sammohah, sammohat smriti vibramah, smriti pranushat buddhinashah, buddhinashat pranashyati, ragat vesha viyuktaistu, vishayanindriyaishvaran, Atma Vashyai Videyatma Prasadamati Gacchati Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hanirasyopadayate Prasannate Taso Yashu Buddhi Paryavatishtate Nasti Buddhirayuktasya Nashayuktasya bhavana Nacha bhavayata shantihi Ashantasya kudasukham Indriyanam vicharatam Yanmano vidhiyate Tadasya harati prajñam Vayurnavadivambasi Tasmadyasya mahabhaho Vigruhitani sarvashaha Indriyani indriyatevyaha Tasya prajña pratishtita Yanisha sarvabhutanam Tasyam jagrati samyami Yasyam jagrati bhutani Sadisha pasyato munehe Ahuryamanam achalat pratishtam Samudramaya pravishanti yatvat Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami Vihaya kamanyat sarvan Umam charati nistaha Nirmamo nirahankaraha Sashanti madhikachati Esha brahmi stiti partha Nainam prapya vimukyati Sitpakya mantakaleti Brahma nirvana mrichati
A person following the right path moves steadily towards Brahman. He is a yuktaha. Opposite of him is a person not following the right path. What is the effect of that one who is not following the right path? Not following the right path means merely functioning on likes and dislikes. When a person is acting on likes and dislikes, he moves away from the self. Very difficult is to one of the most difficult thing, or the most difficult thing is to have the conviction upon the reality, upon God. It's very difficult. all those who go to temple are not having conviction on God. Just as all those who go to work are not interested in working. No? Similarly, all those who go to temple are not interested in, they are not convinced about the divine, but they still go because of something else. See, like even here, like even in a classroom like this, all those who come to the class is not need not be necessarily convinced about the goal of self-realization. So the challenge is this: how to develop this conviction upon the goal. How to develop this conviction upon even before the goal, upon God itself in the first place. Conviction means unwavering thought, fixation, unswerving thought, ananya chinta. That is conviction. Opposite of conviction is doubt. Opposite of conviction is a doubt. Most of the human beings, we constantly live in doubt only. That's why we are not able to achieve anything. Because of we live in doubt. What is the doubt? When one part says God will help, another part in you will say, no, you have to help yourself. Now, you really don't know where you have to stop and where God will start. You don't know that. If at all there is a point like that existing. You follow? Just as you doubt the person you are in love with. You doubt the one whom you are in love with. One part of you says it's loving, another part in you is doubting. Opposite of this division is called conviction. Just as one part in you loves God, says there is an entity called God. Another part in you says, no, world is also important. Every now and then world also becomes important. Sunday morning God becomes important. Rest of the week world is very important. You follow? Very difficult is to develop this conviction. Here he is talking about a yuktaha is one who is having this conviction, who has developed this conviction. If you want to understand conviction, understand the opposite of conviction, which is doubt. If you analyze every part of life, every aspect of life, you have a doubt. One part in you will say wealth is very important to life. Another part in you will say wealth is not all that important. You will never know whether wealth is important or not. So with wealth also you will be unhappy. Without wealth also you will be unhappy. Opposite of that is, if only a person says, okay, I don't worry about this divine God and all that thing. Money is the be all and end all of life. He is chasing money single-pointedly. He becomes wise very soon. He will become wise very soon. Opposite of that is the man who leaves that and says it is divine. Let me follow the spiritual path. Whatever comes out of it, there is a divinity that takes care. Why do I bother? If he takes that stance, again he becomes wise very soon. But what is the division in a human being? What is the conflict in a human being? Lacking conviction. For worldly things, world is necessary. For spiritual things, something else is. You follow? opposite of conviction is a doubt. Doubt keeps you in that state of agitation right through. That's why elsewhere he says, samshayatma pranashyati. A man of samshaya. This is the doubt. That's why you can never say categorically about anything. Just take the simple example. Forget about God and all. Take the simple example about wealth itself. One part in you will say wealth is, to whatever extent needed, we should also have wealth. No, sir. The answer is yes. Now, what is the extent? What is that extent? That point never exists. That point never exists. For how much ever you have, the doubt still remains. What is the doubt? What is the doubt? Maybe what I have is not enough. Maybe what I have is enough for me, but not for my children. Maybe what I have is enough for me and my children, but two lovely grandchildren, two wonderful grandchildren. Maybe not for them. It never ends. You follow? So that doubt continues. The doubt continues. Opposite of this doubt is a conviction. Conviction demands a lot of discipline, lot of tapas. That's why it's very difficult to develop a conviction. Conviction demands a lot of tapas is required to develop conviction. What is tapas? Saying no to likes and dislikes. Saying no to likes and dislikes and following a higher path. That's what he's saying here. A person who is following this higher path is a yuktaha. He finds peace, he finds happiness, also he attains self-realization. There is an immediate benefit, there is a future benefit. For an ayukta, there is no immediate benefit, there is no future benefit also. There is no immediate benefit. There is no immediate benefit. Benefit means agitation now. No future benefit means guaranteed agitation for future also. So we have made sure that not only you will be agitated now, you will be agitated for the next, I don't know, maybe for the next few janmas also. All boils down to likes and dislikes. Courage is required to say no to likes and dislikes. Courage is required. You can't just simply say no. You can say no temporarily, but then that no itself will frustrate you so much that the next round of indulgence will be double. You will say no. It's not that no one says no, but then that saying no doesn't come out of a conviction. You follow? Ayukta lives in mental agitations. Ayukta lives in mental agitations. What is these mental agitations is what is known as hell. These mental agitations is what is known as naraka, the hell. Swarga is what we hope for. Naraka is what we experience. Correct? Naraka is what we experience. Swarga is our hope. Between two periods of agitation, nature gives you a relief. That relief is Swarga. Between two periods of agitations, nature gives you a break. that break is called as Swarga. You say, Abada. Everything is fine? Fine now. That's how it's described. You would have read the stories, no? How you are punished in Naraka. You would have read those stories at least. How you will be tortured in Naraka, hell. How you will be tortured in hell? Frying pan. Yeah. Badri is saying, Yugadi sir, New Year day. Why Naraka Allah start pandringa? Why not say something? New Year message. Why can't you some New Year? Saying, why do you have to talk about Naraka today? What to do? How are you punished in Naraka? Torture. Various ways of torture. You will be, you die here and you will go to hell. That's the story. You die here and you go to hell. And they will torture you to that extent where you will die in hell. If you die in hell, where you will go? There is no place. That's why they will not allow you to die in hell. Carefully follow. You will not be allowed to die, but they will take you to that point where one more second you will die. Immediately the heavenly doctor will come. Immediately the heavenly doctor will come, apply balms, medicine, everything, make you better. You get us. You will feel all right. You will feel better. The ringmaster will come again and say, starts all over. This is how it's described. Correct, no? This is how the story described. So, like you will be put in that boiling oil. You will be not fully. If you are fully into it now, you will die. So right up to here they will put you. So down here everything is. I don't know what happens if you screaming in pain, agony, pain. Doctor will come, apply balms, you feel habada. A tea break will be given to you, and then bit by bit, various ways of torture. You will be constantly poked. You will be cut into various ways. A man died and he went to hell. One man died, he went to Naraka. Chitragupta is the accountant. Correct. Our accountant. Chitragupta is the auditor there. Yeah. He is the auditor. He maintains accounts. That's the story. There is one man called Chitragupta. He maintains the accounts. Even your accounts, sir. Even if you are in France also, they will maintain your accounts here. Yeah. You will come here only. No, don't worry. You think you are going to France, you will escape. No. You can escape here. But Chitragupta you can't escape. Soaked in and out the. So the man, he is a Chitragupta. He welcomed. That man who died and went there, he welcomed and said, boss, welcome. You have done lot of bad karma, so I have to take care of you for the next 2000 years. I am your custodian for the next 1000 years. In and through all these good, in and through all these bad deeds, you have done one punya, one good act also. For that good act, I will take you a tour, hell. You can choose the way you want to get tortured. For that one good, otherwise we choose. Because of one good act, you are given that choice. This is how we get to know how they are tortured. He describes how each and every, otherwise who is describing all that? Chitragupta is not going to describe. No, one man is given that choice, he is describing. This is how, this is one punishment, this is another punishment, this is another punishment. He goes through the entire hell he finds one dark spot. One dark spot he finds there. He asked, what is that? Chitragupta said, don't worry, that spot is not for you. It's for special category of people. It's not for you. Don't worry about that. Don't go there. The nature of the mind is what? Chitragupta in Naraka is telling you don't go there. At least you should have become wise to listen to him, no? That's the mind will not. The mind cannot listen. So it has to. I want to see that also. Chitragupta said, okay. He saw 4 human beings. 4 who went there, standing in a pit, sipping tea. Ramakrishna calls this as sipping tea in Naraka. Ramakrishna says, sipping tea in Naraka. He saw 4 human beings standing in a pit, sipping tea. This man thought, what a cruel man you are, Chitragupta. You should have shown me this place. No, I would have taken this. Chitragupta said, look inside that pit. What is it? He peeped inside, up to knee height. Not fully and all. No, up to knee height, it's filled with pus. You understand pus? If you get wounded, pus, all those. I don't know what is pus in French. I don't know. After the class, I will tell you. So that you will not call me tomorrow. Pus. You know, when the something oozes out of the wounds, you have a cut. When it is infected, when the wound is infected, something comes out that slimy. Adukku mele describe panna mudiyala. I feel like pus. Full. And every day fresh stock. From where they get, God only knows, but every day fresh stock, pus. Up to knee height. This man thought it's better to stand in that pit rather than getting poked, getting burnt in the. No, he thought this is better than the others. Said that. Okay. Chitragupta said, no, don't take this. I'm warning you. He said, no, this is the punishment I opt for this. Signed. Chitragupta said, okay, I'll see you 1,000 years later. For the contract is 1,000 years to stand in that pit. He got into that pit. As soon as he entered the pit, the ringmaster came. Ringmaster who decides that time. The ringmaster came. He blew the whistle and said, time up. All of you stand upside down. You know, what is the punishment? What is the punishment? What is the punishment? You don't even want to describe it, no? The punishment is the head inside that, 4 hours inside that, 5 minutes tea break. This fellow saw the tea break and he misunderstood that to be the punishment. Chitragupta said, don't go for this. But this fellow, this is Naraka. This is the suffocation. This is the pain of following likes and dislikes. Naraka. How much ever you hear this, how much ever you understand this, we will say, for that 5-minute tea break, 4 hours of, that's how the mind works. Likes and dislikes. That's where he says, the entire Vedantic philosophy revolve around these 2 words, Raga, Dvesha. Likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes. Somewhere the mind will come and take over. That's why he says it always gains a backdoor entry. It always gains a backdoor entry. You won't know how it, where it entered and how it entered, you won't know. But it enters. This likes and dislikes will never allow you to have a conviction upon anything. A person who is a victim of likes and dislikes can never have a conviction. What is the conviction? To pursue something single-pointedly. That is conviction. It doesn't matter what you pursue. Whatsoever you pursue, you have to pursue it single-pointedly. A person who has this single-pointed pursuit, by default, is following tapas. For to follow one, you have to say no to many. That saying no to many is the difficulty. For that one, you have to say no to many. Therefore, conviction is not about saying yes. Tapas is not about saying yes. Tapas is about saying no to that 99. For yes is only to one, but no is to many. So somewhere down the line, the mind will take over and say, no, it's okay for today. It's okay for today. One naliki will take a break. It's okay for impossible to get into a fixation. You follow? What is the fixation? How do you develop this conviction? You develop this conviction by following a fixed discipline. A fixed, regulated discipline. This is how the Shastras have defined our life throughout. Throughout the year, if you look at our calendar, it will be interspaced between periods of festivals and period of festival and period of abstinence, tapas. All our festivals are sanctioned indulgences. Ram Navami, you can, what all Rama likes, you can cook and eat. Yeah. Ashtami, Krishna Ashtami, Janmashtami, what all Krishna likes, you can sanctioned indulgences and sanctioned periods of abstinence also. They don't say only abstain, nor do they say fully indulge. Let your indulgence and abstinence follow a schedule, a pattern. Are you able to follow? They defined it like that. They gave the whole year calendar for us. Indulgence is also all right if it is scheduled. If it is scheduled, okay, every Wednesday evening I will indulge. Tuesday evening I will fast. Try and fix like that and follow, you will know how difficult it is. Try and fix something like that and follow. You will say, no, Vedanta only said we should not be mechanical. No, sir. First argument. Vedanta only says it should not be mechanical like that. We should follow ours. You will have your own reasoning to avoid you will have your own reasoning to avoid a discipline. Discipline is that which is not agreeable to the ego, which is not agreeable to likes and dislikes. For the ego survives by promoting likes and dislikes. You cut the likes and dislikes, the lifeline to the ego is cut. Therefore, it will never allow you. Some reasoning it will give. Today I am having a headache, therefore it's okay to sense of proportion you have to use, no sir? Correct? Sense of proportion you have to use, no? All the Vedanta will come to your rescue to support you when all the Vedanta will come to your rescue to promote you following your likes and dislikes. It will never come and say, it will never come to the support to say no. By saying no, gradually you build conviction. By saying no, you gradually build the conviction. The doubt will never allow you to. What is the doubt? What is the guarantee there is something called God? First of all, even if there is something called God, what is the guarantee that He will come and support her? Doubts go on existing. Number one. Number two, about doubts is this. That's why it's so weird. Doubt will constantly ask for proof. Carefully follow. Doubt will ask for proof. What is the prove God? Then I will pursue God. It's a logical, it's a fallacy in thinking. You follow? Doubts will constantly ask for proof. Constantly demands proof. It's not that it doesn't get proof. Proof will be given. That proof itself will strengthen the doubt. Simple example I will give you. Forget about divine. Even in an ordinary worldly sense, you have to constantly keep proving your love to the other, no? You have to keep constantly proving your love to the other. How much you love me. And you also have to keep proving. Now, first of all, the very act of proving itself is suffocating, very irritating. That's why beyond a point you feel like saying, beyond a point you feel like saying, you go your way, I'll go my way. What is it? Why that point happened? What brings that point? Constantly trying to prove to each other, and every attempt you make to prove, every act of your proof doesn't develop the conviction, worsens the doubt. For next time you have to give more. Next time you have to give more. Follow? The child comes and asks the mother, prove your love. How can you prove your love to anyone? Only Hanuman was able to prove. Till now, in human history, only one person is able to prove love is Hanuman. That's why he tore open and shown, no? Rama there. Doubt demands proof. Doubt demands proof. How much ever it's proven, more doubt will arise. Opposite of that is a conviction. Opposite of this is conviction. Conviction is an understanding that you have a limitation to understand. Rest of the areas, that's all conviction is. Again I repeat, conviction is an understanding that as I am today, as you are today, every human being has a limitation to understand. There is that limitation. The ego will never allow us to Accept that. The ego believes that everything is understandable. That's why all questions. Even when we ask questions about God, there is no thirst in that question. It's just an intellectual curiosity wanting to understand. Why this understanding? Because the belief is, if I understand, it will be easy to follow. In life, you pursue first, understanding happens later. You never begin with understanding. I have given this example before many a times. The child has to understand. If the child has to wait to understand the importance of education, when it will understand? Yeah, 60-65 it will understand the importance of education. But then you have to force the child to go into school. Over a period of time, one day the child will understand. You follow? Ego says, let us postpone action. First understand. Conviction says, start action. Don't wait for understanding. That's conviction. You follow? That's conviction. Opposite of that is, a proof. Proof satisfies the understanding. And you can never understand. What is it that you can't understand? About another you cannot understand. About the totality you cannot understand. About divine you can't understand. But one thing you can understand. How you are a victim of your own ego can be understood. But the ego will not make an attempt to understand that. It will make an attempt to understand everything else. Ego is capable of understanding one thing. What? How it is a victim of likes and dislikes. Having understood this, it will drop it. Having understood this, it will drop it. This dropping is called Vairagya. This dropping likes and dislikes is called Vairagya. Understand the definition of Vairagya itself. It's a beautiful word. Raga and Dvesha. Raga and Dvesha means likes and dislikes. Raga and Dvesha means likes and dislikes. Vairi means enemy. The Sanskrit word Vairi means enemy. The third chapter he says Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, to mean enemy. Even in the colloquial language we use the word Vairi to mean enemy. Raga and Dvesha. When they mean one, the other is implied. When they say Raga, Dvesha is implied there. In the Sanskrit rules, Vairi plus Raga and Dvesha combines turns into Vairagya. So for all practical purposes, what is Vairagya? The understanding in you, the capacity in you to understand likes and dislikes as your enemies. If you understand likes and dislikes as your enemies, what you will do? You will chase them out. I understand this person as an enemy, but I am keeping him in my house. You will become very compassionate to the enemy. What is the enemy? Likes and nature gives you enough proof to understand this. Nature gives you enough proof to understand how you are a victim of your likes and dislikes, and you are paying the price. But the ego turns blind. The ego refuses to focus there. The ego refuses to do reflection there. Instead, it will focus attention elsewhere. How it focuses its attention elsewhere? Asking for proof. Prove your love. Prove God. How can you prove? Or how much ever you prove, the doubt still remains. The very attempt to prove itself is suffocating. The second thing about lack of conviction. Lastly, there are temporary phases of inspiration. There are temporary phases of inspiration. Don't misunderstand that inspiration to be a conviction. In a classroom like this, you will get inspired. In front of the wise man, you get inspired. You go through those short periods of inspiration. Inspirations are not conviction. People misunderstand inspiration itself to mean conviction. Inspiration is borrowed. It's not yours. It's because of the other that emotion is invoked in you. That emotion is evoked in you. You follow? Because of the other. You stand in front of a wise man. The presence of that wise man is inspiring. The moment that source goes away, what goes away? Inspiration also goes away. To get inspired again, that person has to come back. After a period of time, very correct. You will get neutralized to that also. After a period of time, you will get neutralized to that. That is sipping tea in Narakavaguda, it is worst. Where if you are neutralized to the highest, that's the worst. But the nature of the mind is it will get neutralized. For it misunderstands those pockets of inspiration to be conviction. Always remember, you might agree, you might not agree, it doesn't matter. But the truth is this: inspiration is borrowed. Conviction is your own. Conviction is your own. Here he is talking about a yuktaha, a sthita prajna. How he attained to that state of sthita prajna. How he has come to this point. Not by inspiration, by conviction. Not by inspiration, by conviction. Conviction means hard work. Tapas. What is the tapas? That is very simple to answer. Yeah, at least. What is tapas? Saying no. For that one, you say no to 99. Are you able to understand the difference? Very few gets inspired. That inspiration is a very noble emotion. Something very rarely it happens. You should learn how to use that inspiration and get convinced very soon. If not, to wait for that inspiration again, you don't know how many janmas you have to go through. Very difficult is to get this conviction. But then, inspiration. And this inspiration is wasted in just wasted, not knowing the value of this inspiration. What you should do, use the inspiration and quickly turn it into a conviction. For inspiration is borrowed, conviction is yours. Living on borrowed, you can't take it to be yours. That's why we say loan. Yeah. That's why we say loan. It's someone, actually you don't know whose it is, but definitely it is not yours. Yeah. You don't know actually whose it is. When you go and take a loan from the bank, what is the bank? That building doesn't own this building. No. Definitely you don't know who owns it. But one thing is sure. What? It's not yours. But then the ego believes what? It is? It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Inspiration is borrowed. It is like, if you pass through a rose garden, Ramatirtha gives this example. You pass through a rose garden for 10-15 minutes, you also carry a little bit of fragrance of rose with you. That's because of long association with the rose garden. It belongs to the roses, not you. But the ego believes what? See, now I have become a rose. You are still fit for that sipping tea in Naraka only. But then, inspiration. You follow? Temporarily you can get inspired. Quickly use it to become strong. When you use it to become strong, it turns into a conviction. And how do you build a conviction? For that one ideal that you want to pursue, you say no to 99. Every no causes pain. That's why it's so difficult to say no. They have invited me for the wedding. To say no is very painful. Every no causes pain. Every yes is very attractive. Not realizing that you keep saying yes. Yes to what? Indulgences means likes and dislikes. He is a ayukta. This man has no conviction. He has no conviction. He is not pursuing the higher. He is ayukta. To a ayukta, how can there be happiness? That's all he is saying. He is not describing all this. These are all my stories. All the question that he is asking is only one. What? To the peaceless, how can there be happiness? Meaning, happiness is not. How can there be happiness means, he is not asking you a question. He is saying that there is no happiness. He is saying that there is no happiness. There is neither knowledge or meditation. No reflection, no conviction. No reflection, no conviction. To whom? To the unsteady. Unsteady. Unsteady means constant moving. This is the first definition of the mind. Mind is the movement. Mind means the movement. That movement of the mind has to be given a fixation. Once that fixation comes, tapas starts. What is the tapas? To keep saying no. And very difficult is to say no. As a result of which, what happens? After a point, saying no becomes so difficult, the goals get compromised. This is where Vivekananda said, very beautiful statement. Maybe he if he would have done so much of hard work, he knew what it is. He says, there are human beings are of only two types, he says. Human beings are of only two categories, two types. What are they? One category lift themselves up for the sake of the ideal. The others bring the ideal down, he says. Vivekananda. Fabulous statement. So inspiring. Even to here, he said there are only two types of people. One lift themselves up for the sake of the ideal, goal. Others bring the ideal itself down. When they bring the ideal down, they have their own reason. They have their own logic. What they don't realize is what? all this reasoning and logic is exactly like, all this logic and reasoning is exactly like what? The poem pond reasoning. In the poem pond, it also reasons, no? What is the reasoning to bring the ideal down? What is the reasoning that you bring the ideals down? What reasoning you give? First thing, it's impractical. It's impractical. Second thing, what will happen, sir, if everyone becomes self-realized, what will happen? Suddenly you will become concerned about the world all of a sudden. Yeah. What will become? You will have a self-realized plumber, you will have a self-realized carpenter, you will have a self-realized electrician. What's wrong in that? That's what we are aspiring for. Understand that? It will be that Satya Yuga. It will be that ideal thing. Suddenly you say, oh, what will happen if everyone becomes self-realized? What will happen? Nothing will happen. Everyone will be. Second reason that you compromise on the. Third reason, how can you pursue without understanding? Third reason, you follow? Whatsoever reason you give will come under these 3, 4 only again and again and again. How can you pursue that which you don't understand? The paradox of life says, action comes first. Action is a conducive environment for understanding. You can't understand and start. You start, understanding happens somewhere down the line. You follow? The fourth reason that a person gives. Why? I am talking about what all reasoning you give to compromise on the ideal. What is the other reason that a person gives? Family, commitments, obligations. Adala very, very insignificant reason. These are all they are all insignificant. What is that? The fourth reason. Very difficult is this classroom, huh? Because the irony of the classroom is this. The teacher, the wise, I am not saying I am a teacher, please. The wise man has to think like an ignorant man and ask questions. And the ignorant man will answer like a wise man. What is the look at the irony of it? Shankaracharya has to think like an ignorant man and ask questions, and you will answer to him as though you are Shankaracharya, you know what to do. So I am asking questions. What are all the reasoning you give? I am stuck now. I don't know what all reasoning you will give. What all reasoning you will give to compromise on the ideal? Fundamentally it boils down to only one reasoning. I don't like it. That's all. It's too hard. I don't. Give me, I will wait till I like it. And that point will never come. For the higher cannot be liked. The higher has to be earned. It's the lower you develop likes and dislikes. The higher has to be earned, deserved. That earning, that deserving is tapas. You follow? You can't like the higher. How can you like the higher? Like itself means towards the lower only. You can't like. You can only be inspired. You have to deserve the higher. You have to earn it. How will you earn it? By the tapas. The ayuktaha, who is not doing all this, is talking about this. The ayukta, who is not doing all this, will never find peace and happiness. Ayuktaha is exactly the opposite. Ayukta lacks concentration upon the Supreme Self. He lacks concentration upon the Supreme Self. If you are not thinking about the higher, it's not that you are in a neutral state. If you are not thinking about the higher, you are carried away by the lower. Please understand, that's why it's very scary. If you are not thinking about the higher, it's not that you are in a neutral state, you are fast asleep, nothing is happening. It's not that. If you are not thinking about the higher, you are carried away by the lower. Ayukta. Yuktaha is concentrating. Ayukta lacks this concentration. He is carried away. If you are not thinking about the higher, you are carried away by the. It's not that you are thinking about the lower. Use the right word, you will understand. Don't use words that will. You should never use words that will soothe you. You should use words that should prick you. But you will use words to prick others. Yeah, you will use words to prick others, but soothing words to one's own self. Soothing words to one's own self. Use soothing words to others, but use harsh words upon yourself. That's why use the right word. If you are not thinking about the higher, you are carried away by the lower. What does it mean to get carried away by the lower? What happens if you are carried away by the lower? That's the conclusion. Verse number 67. All along you have to be thinking about the Supreme. If you are not concentrating, if you are not thinking about the Supreme, you are carried away by the lower. What is it that is carrying you away? What is it that is actually happening there? Verse number 67. 67 padi.
Indriyanam vicharatam yammanonubidiyate tatasya harati prajñam vayodnavamimam bhasi. Indriyanam vicharatam yammanonubidiyate tatasya harati prajñam.
For the mind which follows the roving senses carries away his intellect as the wind a boat on water. Sequence of thought from verse 60. Senses. In all these, don't forget the senses now. In all the stories we have been discussing for so long, the senses are so he is bringing back to the he is bringing us back to the basics. What is it? For the mind which follows the roving senses carries away his intellect as the wind a boat on water. Navam iva ambasi. This is a very famous metaphor. Comes in so many shastras, so many literature you will find this example. A boat carried away. First thing he says, for the mind which follows the senses. First he said, the senses itself runs towards the sense objects. The senses themselves run towards the world, seeking. The senses run towards the sense objects, seeking pleasure. That's the nature of the senses, seeking pleasure and avoiding which causes displeasure. Avoiding which causes displeasure. That's why I gave this example. 4-month infant, 5-month infant Don't try, yeah? Yeah, I tried it because with her I can try anything. Yeah, don't try it with anyone else. 5-month-old, and she was just 5 months infant. I tried it with Swati. That's all I know. And they all used to get very angry at me. Why are you torturing the child like that? Take a drop of honey and smear it tongue. Swallows. Immediately the tongue will stick out, asking for more. 2-3 times you do that. Every time you go near the child, the child will do that. 1 week later, little bit of neem oil. Little bit, try it out, nothing will happen. Try it out. For you try it out. Don't stand in front of the mirror and try it out upon you, not on the child. What happens? Displeasure. The sensation. So the senses naturally gravitates to that which is pleasurable and avoid that which causes, what is opposite? Displeasure. I don't know. Whatever that displeasure. The mind follows the senses. The mind itself has this natural tendency to go to the world. Now, what is it that is making the child put the tongue out again for the honey, and what is it that makes the child to pull the tongue inside for the neem oil? What is that? What is that? What is that? For the 4 months, no mind is there, nothing is there, just the senses. Instant happiness. Honey gives instant happiness, neem oil gives instant. So, the senses are very clear about life. What? Senses has this clarity now about life. What is the clarity? Contact that gives pleasure when? At the point of contact le mudichirnom. You can't go any further. At the point of contact it has to happen. Mind follows this senses. Mind also has this tendency for senses. That's how mind and senses work hand in glove. For both of them have a both of them are seeking something in what? Instant. The mind also wants everything instantly, no? Mind also wants everything instantly. When these two combines, what gets carried away? Carries away the intellect. When these two gets combined, carries away the intellect, as the wind carries away a boat on water. We'll come to the example later. Example itself is so. Most of the Vedantic texts use this metaphor. Fantastic is this metaphor. Before we come to the metaphor, understand from the sequence. The senses by themselves. See, like even to understand the unreality of the world, you need the comfort of the air-conditioned room, no? The discussion is about Maya. World is unreal, temporary, illusion. Yeah. As we are discussing, I tell the person, increase the temperature now. What will happen? Konjam temperature kami pannungo. Now continue, sir. What? Illusion, You follow? The senses have that instant the senses cannot handle any displeasure. It wants instant pleasure. Not realizing one thing. What? Its capacity itself is so limited. It gets neutralized very fast. It doesn't realize that. It doesn't understand that. It keeps contacting again and again and again. Gets neutralized. Why? The capacity of the senses is very, very limited. Very, very limited. Most of the time, the senses are bored. The senses are neutralized. We torture the senses to contact because of the mind's hope for happiness, mind's craving for. When this mind and the senses combine, what happens? Intellect is gone. Why the intellect goes away? Because the mind and senses, world takes care of it. The intellect needs the Shastras, the Guru. The intellect doesn't pick up anything from the world. Senses and the mind, world is enough for the senses and the mind. The intellect needs a guide, a guru. The intellect needs the Shastras. For taking the material from the Shastras, from the Guru, the intellect has to reflect and become strong. In the vast ocean, the boat without the compass is tossed. The boat without the captain, without the who's the captain? Who's the captain? Intellect is the captain. Now you don't have an intellect. Then who becomes the captain? Mind becomes the captain. Who becomes the captain? I said it. See, that's why we give the answer first and then ask the question. You don't ask question first. Answer solely question getale, it is going for a toss. If the first question geta, what will happen? Who's the captain? The Guru becomes the captain. And what the Guru takes from the Shastras, the compass. The captain consults the compass. Your intellect should consult the compass. Right now you don't have an intellect. Now what to do? You can't say strengthen the intellect. How would you strengthen it? That's where the Guru and the Shastras come in. Are you able to follow? When that boat gets the captain with the compass, that captain will know how to steer the boat through the fierce winds, the waves that are so turbulent, which is about to topple the boat. The captain knows how to steer and reach shore safely. The shore of immortality. That's the shore of immortality. The ocean is the samsara. Ocean is the samsara. Ocean is huge, big. In that huge, vast ocean, you are the tiny boat, the individual, tossed in that. Sometimes, if you are flying over sometimes you can see that, when you are flying over the ocean, you can see the containers, not ordinary ships, the container thing. How do they look like? That vast sheet of water. Like a matchbox they look. That's the samsara. The vast ocean is the samsara. And what is the nature of samsara? What is the nature of samsara? To be violent, to be turbulent. The nature of samsara is to be violent and the nature of the ocean is that unnecessarily you went and got caught there. If you go inside, the ocean is not going to change its nature for you. It will not function like, okay, now that you have come, let me change my nature, and it will not. It will act according to its nature. What is the nature of the ocean? That's where the sailors come and say it's very difficult to predict what? It's very difficult to predict what? The changes. That's samsara. It's very difficult to predict the changes of everything. Seems to be all right in one event, or one thing can topple you completely. Never to get back to that state. It's so unpredictable. The nature of samsara is unpredictable, just as the nature of ocean is. In that you went and got caught. Who's you? One tiny boat, the individual got caught, and it has to be tossed by that ocean. Divinity has not left us to suffer like that. It has given the support. What is the support? The support of the intellect. Till you strengthen your intellect, you borrow the intellect from outside. But then that borrowing itself satisfies you so much that you will not develop. For they will take care. No, he will take care. No, how he will take? It's like the crutches. You use it for a while, but then you have to exercise and become independent. You follow? That's how this boat metaphor is one of the complete metaphors. Like there are very few metaphors which are complete in Vedantic literature. The rope and snake is such a complete metaphor. This boat in the wind. The wind carries the boat, just as the senses carries the mind. The combination of the senses and the mind carries the intellect. In this, which seems to be no way out, he says, no, there is a way out. What is the way out? What is the way out? Quietly follow the captain who's using the compass. First do that. As you are doing that, you will start experiencing the truths of what they are talking about. When you do that, you will experience the truth behind what they are saying. That will give you a conviction to go to the next layer. That will give you the conviction to go to the next level, whatever be those levels. This is how you grow. Opposite of that is what? If you do not take spiritual guidance, you will be at the mercy of the likes and dislikes. And what these likes and dislikes do? They will not stay quiet till you are destroyed. They will not stay quiet till you are destroyed. That's why Vedanta says, you don't need anyone from outside to destroy you. You don't need anyone from outside to cause harm and pain to you. For all practical purposes, no one from outside causes pain like that. You cause your own pain and misery. Which is very difficult also. We'll say, correct sir, but அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஆள் இருக்கும்போது how to? If you have a person like that, what will? You are experiencing pain through that? So, no. When your intellect consults the scriptures, and what the scripture says? Scripture says only one thing. What? Say no to likes and dislikes. You are looking for happiness. You are wanting happiness. Isavasya Upanishad gives the formula. Tena tyaktena punjitam. You are looking for happiness. You are seeking happiness. And what is the way to get that happiness? May you enjoy bliss through renunciation. Tena tyaktena isavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam tena tyaktena bhunjitam agrudas swastasya suddham. May you enjoy bliss through renunciation. The renunciation are more painful. How can bliss come out of renunciation? How can bliss come out of renunciation? For all your convictions are clouded by the combination of the senses and the mind. What is the cloud? Instant happiness is the cloud. For renunciation doesn't give instant happiness. Therefore, it says, no. All along I have been living life with that conviction of instant. Yes. Suddenly you come and say something. That's why even when we go to God also, we go with the same. Even God also has to give us instant darshan. Correct. Instant darshan, instant blessings. That's why anyone who guarantees you of anything instant, you will fall for that. Even here, even when you come into spirituality also, that's why I started by saying, no one has this conviction upon God. Even those who go to temple, don't think they are convinced about God. They are not convinced about God. What do they go to God for? God also has to give them instant remedies, instant solutions. There is a Gautam Buddha walking on the road and the street magician walking on the road. Who looks attractive? The street magician. Yeah. Because the street magician is telling you, 10 rupee diet I will give you. Something will happen. Here, what to say now? Yeah, very, very depressing here. Because you have been listening? Years, decades nu sollunga. Years nu solli don't pamper yourself. See, decades I have been listening, but still nothing seems to happen. Why? That conviction. You follow? What is that? Even here, the same fallacy. What is the fallacy? It has to happen instantly. In the university, they come and ask to talk. I am going around talking also. So, nowadays, most of the people call and say, sir, how many sessions you need? They ask me. I feel like saying 25 years. No, I can't say that. No, I don't say that. I say, okay, how many? One session? See, to gain worldly intelligence, a fellow has to spend 25 years, no? And intellect they want to strengthen in one session. Instantly they want instant. Even here it has to be. Why? Long association with this deadly combination. What is that long association with this deadly combination? The senses and the mind. The senses and the mind seeking instant happiness carries the intellect away. Like the boat without the captain and the compass. Boat needs two things, the captain and the compass. Compass is the Shastras, for they point only one direction. What? Okay, sir. Self-realization. Correct or something? Yes. Higher. What is higher? Say clearly. Self? Not that you are going to achieve self-realization immediately. Don't worry. That will not happen. At least, chumma vaarthailavathu we can say, no, theoretically at least. One day it will stir you up from inside one day. Follow? What is it? The Shastras, the compass points to only one thing. What? Self-realization. The captain follows that. The intellect follows that. The temporary intellect is the guru. Permanent intellect is what you should develop. Temporary intellect is him. And beyond a point it will not help. For you will go back saying, சொல்றதே அவருக்கு புரிய மாட்டேன்றது. He is repeating the same thing again and again and again. Whatever we go, I still remember during the course, even now I think so, he's doing the same thing. Anyone goes to him with any problem, the answer is follow the schedule. No, follow the schedule. They get so angry listening to that. They say something. For any problem, any answer is only one. What? Follow the schedule. After a while, they stop going. Why? The answer is going to find some other answers. The captain consults the compass and steers the boat safely to the shore. What is the shore? The shore of immortality. Once you get to the shore, you are safe. After that, you are not affected by the turbulence of the ocean anymore. That is immortality, the state of self-realization. The captain, the compass steers you. If you don't have it, you are a victim of this combination. What is the combination? First point, the senses. Second is the mind. Both combined, deadly. What is the combination? Both combined, what are they seeking? Only one thing. Instant pleasure, instant happiness. Remember that fellow. For that instant happiness of sipping tea, Chitragupta is telling him, don't. He did all the wrong things and went to hell. At least there he should have listened, no? At least there he should have listened to Chitragupta. Even there he didn't listen. No, I will take this only. Chitragupta saying, don't take. He fell for that. What he fell for? Ramakrishna says, sipping tea in Naraka. I was thinking, what is sipping tea in Naraka? What is the story of sipping tea in Naraka? That is what he means by saying the intellect has deteriorated. The intellect has fallen to what? To the combination of the senses and the mind. Understand senses independently, understand mind independently, and then combine. Then you will get scared. Oh my God, what a deadly thing you are having inside. What a poisonous thing you are having inside of you. Then you will be stirred into action. Then you will be inspired to overcome. What is overcoming? That means from the samsara, from the turbulent samsara, the turbulent ocean, to the safe shore. The safe shores of immortality. It's okay, don't worry.